I'm gonna have fun on a trip with the gals using your card. Out of the blue, I got a call from Brian. I had noticed he'd been coming home late for the past few weeks, secretly chatting on the phone with Nicole, and acting antsy around the house. Had he been plotting something like this all along? I had suspected he might have teamed up with Nicole for some kind of scheme. Good thing I was prepared. Maybe I should pretend to be surprised here. Mine? Huh? What do you mean? Explain. I already knew Brian was leaving for a trip today. Honestly, it's unbelievable. If he's trying to pull one over on me, I wish he'd plan it out better. I had been patient with everything until today. But now, I only felt the urge to get back at him. There's no way I wouldn't have a revenge plan ready. It's about time we fight back against those insufferable siblings, after all the patience we've shown. Once today is over, I reckon everything will clear up. I hope they're having fun on that trip, not realizing one of their fellow travelers is on my side. My name is Pamela Smith. I'm 33, living in a house with my husband Brian. Right after high school, I started working at my current company. After gaining some experience and being recommended by my boss, I acquired several certifications. In this company, if you have certifications and a proven track record, you're valued. I even got a position when I was about 21, and it seems I was the only one to get such a role so young. Even though it's just a lead position. I secretly aspired to reach at least the rank of a department head. After some time had passed, a few new employees joined the company, and among them was Brian. Though I'm younger than him age-wise, I'm his superior at work. I was assigned to train Brian and 2 others, a total of 3 people. Pamela, you're pretty close in age to us, right? And you're a supervisor? Seriously? Yeah, I think I'm maybe a year younger or so. I've been working here ever since I dropped out of my high school, so I've got some experience under my belt. I see that you have your career plans well laid out early on. That's impressive. He often complimented me back then. Then Brian started pursuing me. I reluctantly began dating him, but before I knew it, I had fallen for him. From there, I guess our relationship was pretty typical. We'd go out for dinner or drive around, and before long, we moved in together. After moving in, I started to notice Brian's sloppiness. I thought maybe he trusted me enough to be himself, so I tried not to mind it too much. After living together for a while, Brian proposed, and I said yes. Then we sat down to discuss our future. I'd like you to quit your job and become a stay-at-home wife. I'll work and earn money, and you can take care of the house. That's the dream. I also want kids soon and am looking forward to buying a home and our wedding. I'm thinking of wedding, home, then kids, in that order. What do you think, Pamela? You know, Brian, that plan sounds great. I don't really mind the order either. But money's a concern. Even with our savings, you know? And I don't plan on quitting my job. Even if we have kids, we can work by being flexible. I'm a bit worried about the finances if we buy a house. Yeah, I get that. But I hate that you earn more than me. Still, I want our house. I was thinking of buying one right after our wedding. That might be tough. I already earn more than you do. So, how about we manage the wedding and the house for now, and think about kids later? We can decide what to do about my job then. All right. Let's do that. Honestly, I didn't want to quit my job, but I felt like suggesting this, otherwise Brian might be demanding forever. Before our wedding, we had an engagement party with both families. Brian's sister, Nicole, was away on a trip, so I met her for the first time at the wedding. She entered the bride and groom's waiting room without knocking, looked me up and down, snickered, and said, "So, this is who Brian chose? A bit plain compared to his past choices, huh? Oh, I'm Nicole. Your sister-in-law. I'm the type who doesn't hold back with family, so heads up." I'm Pamela. Nice to meet you. Nicole flapped her hand in a wave and left the room. I was left stunned by her upfront attitude. Yes, it turns out this sister-in-law is quite the character. I later greeted my sister-in-law's husband and thought he seemed like a decent guy. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and after touring our new home, Brian and I bought the house we both liked. I thought things were gonna get busy, so I put more energy into my work. On a seemingly ordinary day off, the doorbell suddenly rang. Since I was occupied, I had Brian answer it. He came back chatting and laughing, and it turned out my sister-in-law had dropped by.
Pamela, hey there. Brian's doing pretty well, huh? Owning such a big house. Good for him. After all, he's my little brother. Right? I've been working hard. Make yourself at home. Pamela, don't we have some snacks or something? My sister's here, so hurry up.
I felt something was off with Brian's behavior. He started acting all high and mighty because his sister was here. And he probably told her he bought the house himself. I contributed to the down payment and am paying the mortgage, but Brian really wanted his name on the title, so I gave in. Since we were living together, I thought it didn't matter whose name was on it. But the way he explained it to his sister kind of irked me. But I decided to hold my tongue and not make a scene. Here's some snacks. Brian works really hard, you know?
Why does Pamela sound so bossy? She's not the boss or anything.
Well, I am Brian's supervisor at work.
Oh, that's right. Did I not mention that? When I started the job, Pamela was already a manager. Since she started working right after dropping out of high school, it couldn't be helped. If it were me, I'd surpass her in no time. Wait, you dropped out of high school? You look so serious, and yet you're less accomplished than me?
Is there a problem just because I dropped out of high school?
No, not really. But Pamela, since you didn't graduate from high school and I'm your sister-in-law, I can ask you for anything, right? That's true. Pamela, whatever my sister says is the final word. If you refuse, I'll kick you out of the house.
I struggled to understand what this sibling pair was talking about. What's the point if she can ask me for anything because I do not have a high school diploma and she's my sister-in-law? And if I don't listen, I'll be kicked out of the house? What kind of nonsense is this? Is this a joke? I gave a polite smile and quickly escaped to the kitchen. I could hear Brian's voice from the kitchen, and from what I gathered, they seemed serious about their earlier conversation. After their conversation, my sister-in-law came into the kitchen.
Pamela. Hey, I've got a favor to ask.
What's up?
I kinda need to borrow a little money, like $5,000. Please.
How is that a little money? That's a lot. What do you need it for anyway?
Come on, it's just $5,000? You're a supervisor, right? You must have a good salary. Oh, right. I needed to cover the remaining renovation costs.
Didn't you just brag about your new condo the other day?
Huh? Did I? Anyway, just hand it over. Brian told me he'd lend it to me and said I should ask you.
What? Why would he decide that without asking me?
Listen, Pamela. Either give me the money, or I'll call the boss right now and tell him you want to quit. Which one do you prefer?
All right. Nicole, I'll lend you the money. But on one condition. We need to draw up a promissory note.
What? Even though we're family?
I want it in writing. So, when you come to get the money, make sure to bring your ID with a picture, okay?
Ugh. Such a hassle. But fine, if you're gonna give me the money. I'll be over tomorrow night.
And so, I decided to lend my sister-in-law the money. I had this gut feeling that getting her to sign a promissory note was essential. Even though Nicole grumbled, she did bring everything I asked for the next day. But seriously, I never knew how much Brian was spoiled by his sister until we got married. It's just ridiculous. I bet no matter what I said, it wouldn't have made a difference. Later on, I found out Nicole used the money to buy designer stuff. And once I lent her money, she kept asking for more, without any hesitation. Of course, I made her sign a note every single time. In a month, she had borrowed about $12,000 from me. Just when I thought this was becoming too much, I got called into the boss's office. Turns out, they wanted to promote me from a supervisor to a manager. I was over the moon. I couldn't wait to get home and share the good news with Brian, who had taken the day off.
I'm home. Brian, guess what? Welcome back. Pamela, you seem really excited. What happened? Today my boss called me in and guess what? He asked me if I wanted to be the department manager. My goal has always been to become the head manager, so I'm super excited that I'm getting closer to it. Huh? Wait, what? Pamela, you're getting promoted? I don't get it. Did you accept the offer?
Well, yeah. I've told you about my goal before, right?
Hold on, you should have asked for my permission before making such a decision. What were you thinking? Plus, I've told you I wanted you to be a stay-at-home wife, haven't I? How come you're getting promoted and I'm still stuck at the same position? Doesn't that seem odd?
That's not my fault. I've told you I don't want to quit my job. Why you can't get promoted is beyond me. Shortly after, Brian made a call, and I assumed it was to his older sister. Sure enough, a few minutes later, his sister arrived.
Hey! I heard you stole Brian's promotion opportunity. What's the big idea?
No, I didn't steal anything. At our company, promotions are based on performance.
So you're saying Brian's incompetent at his job? How dare you look down on him as his wife? This is ridiculous. Let's go grab some barbecue on her dime.
They rummaged through my purse and took my bank card. I tried to resist, but they were 2 against 1 and I ended up being restrained. The 2 of them left, laughing. Tears welled up in my eyes. I shouldn't have married such a man. It's too late for regrets. I need to find a good divorce lawyer. That night, Brian didn't come home. The next day, when I went to work, Brian had already arrived and came up to me with a smug look, saying,
"Yesterday was a blast. Eating on someone else's dime is the best. Thanks for the treat."
When he handed me the receipt, I saw he'd been to an upscale barbecue restaurant and the bill was $1,200. There were also receipts from luxurious bars that totaled an unbelievable $6,000. I wanted to snap back, but more and more employees were coming in, so I held my tongue. On my way home, I checked how much was withdrawn from the bank and, to my shock, it was $8,000. I confronted him when I got back.
"Brian, what were you thinking? Taking out $8,000? Fancy barbecue and luxurious bars? It's my money, and it's what I had saved from my single days. I just got home and you're nagging me around. Money from your single days? Don't know, don't care. Can't do anything about it now since I've already spent it."
He said that and ran into the bathroom. That's it, I'm definitely gonna divorce him. I went to see a lawyer over the weekend. Several weeks have passed since then. The preparations for the divorce are progressing steadily. Ever since that incident, Brian has been coming home late, and he leaves the house in a hurry on his days off. I was getting suspicious and thought about hiring a private investigator when I got a call from Kevin, my sister-in-law Nicole's husband.
"Hello. Is this Pamela's number?"
"Yes, Kevin. It's rare to hear from you."
"Yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, is my wife there?"
"Nicole? No, she's not here."
"I see. She's been coming home late and leaving without telling me on weekends. She said she was at Brian's place when I asked her yesterday."
"Oh, I see. Brian's been acting the same way. Maybe they're both going somewhere together. It's none of my business anymore, so I don't really care. Oh, and Kevin, I had something to tell you as well. Can you hear me out?"
"None of your business anymore? What do you mean?" "All right, go ahead."
I told him everything that happened. About the money I lent to my sister-in-law and everything else. Upon hearing this, Kevin sighed and said,
"Is that so? I'm sorry about my wife. To be honest, I've been at my breaking point and considered getting a divorce, but I just couldn't take action."
"Why don't you use the evidence I've gathered, Kevin? You should divorce too. It's not fair for you to be in this situation. Let's give those siblings, who are so selfish and spend money recklessly, a taste of their own medicine."
Yeah, let's work together on this. Oh, by the way, I think Nicole and the others might be planning a trip.
He mentioned that she had urged him to take a long vacation and that there were travel brochures on Pamela's vanity. Curious, I decided to look inside the shelf that Brian had always told me not to touch. Sure enough, I found travel brochures and club cards. That's when it clicked for me.
Kevin, I think they might really be planning a trip.
I found some brochures.
I've got an idea.
As I explained the plan, Kevin laughed and agreed to go along with it. We decided to coordinate further via text and ended the call. I also sent him some potential evidence that could be beneficial for the divorce and meticulously planned our next steps. 2 weeks later, early one morning, Brian left the house. I knew about it since Kevin had informed me the day before. A few hours later, Brian called.
I'm gonna have a blast on your card with my sis and friends.
He had been coming home late and sneakily making calls with Nicole. I had sensed something was off. I suspected they were up to something. Good thing I had prepared. Maybe I should act surprised.
Mine? What? What do you mean? Explain. Seriously? You didn't notice? We planned this trip ages ago. Kevin was just our backup plan in case something happened. We felt you've been getting too arrogant lately and talked about teaching you a lesson. Got it now? You can't stand up to us anymore.
I don't have to tolerate this any longer. I've been patient for so long, a little payback isn't too much to ask for. I don't feel anything anymore. Not even a shred of emotion.
Brian, what did you say earlier? I told you. About your debit card, right?
Huh? I have my card in my wallet though?
What? What are you talking about? Because here it is. Wait, what the heck is this?
You just noticed? Slow on the uptake, huh? Didn't you take my old gym membership card from the fitness club I used to go to? It's the same color and same stiffness.
Oh my god. It does say fitness club. But I swear, when I checked it, it was definitely a debit card.
You sure you didn't just mix them up?
Hey. I heard everything because you're on speaker. What's going on? Brian brought a fitness membership card? I'm sure I saw my debit card.
Ugh. So it was a scheme by Nicole and Brian, huh? I'm so disappointed. Actually, last night, I switched the debit card with the membership card. Seems like you didn't check this morning and just went with it.
What? Dude, what the heck are you playing at?
No, I should be the one asking that. Brian, tough break, huh?
Don't get too cocky just because you're my stepsister, got it? You'll remember this when we get back.
I've got gifts waiting for both of you when you come back.
You trying to bribe us? I won't accept anything but cash.
Well, we'll see about that. Look forward to it.
That's beside the point. What should we do now? Oh, Pamela, can you send me some money?
I hung up the phone. I didn't need to hear any more. Then I got a message from Brian saying,
You better send it, okay? Or, worst case scenario, we still have Kevin here, you know.
I simply replied with, Is that so? And went back to sleep. I was woken up by the ring of my phone in the afternoon. Looking at the screen, there were an incredible number of missed calls and messages. First, I called my brother-in-law and then answered Brian's call.
Hey, finally! Send the money ASAP. Please! It's so cold I think I'm gonna freeze.
The reason they're cold is because they're in Alaska. Considering it's February, you can imagine it must be freezing. If Brian and his group are saying they're cold, seems like my plan worked.
Really? You said Kevin would help, right? Or is he not there? What? Do you know something? Anyway, it's freezing, and Kevin's not here. Should I clue you in? Since you and Nicole teamed up, Kevin and I did too. Simple, right? Now do you get why I entertained you guys for so long on that first call? To buy time. And Kevin? He hopped on another plane and is coming back here. I hung up once I got word he boarded the plane. Got it? What's your deal with my husband, huh? Don't tell me. You're wrong. We teamed up to get back at you. Now, find your own way back. See you.
And with that, I hung up. Kevin should be arriving here soon. I decided to call in my lawyer. We had our final meeting regarding the divorce before Brian and the others would return. Why did I gather everyone here? I was sure Brian and the group would confront me. A few hours later, as soon as Brian and his group returned, they started yelling.
Pamela. Hey, what the hell? What were you thinking? Be prepared to move out, okay?
Kevin's with you, isn't he? Why did you even come back first? Unbelievable. You okay with me leaving you? Apologize.
Shut it. Sit down.
Usually calm, Kevin's shouting stunned Brian and his companion, making them sit down right away. The lawyer promptly handed out his business cards to both of them. Both looked dumbfounded as they stared at the cards. Well, here's a gift from us. Kevin and I handed them a stack of papers. As they read through them, their faces turned pale.
Wait a minute, this mentions property division. You're not saying it's about divorce, are you?
It's written on mine too. It's a divorce.
What did I do? Divorce has gotta be a joke, right? Yeah, right. Kevin? Let's head home.
I'll go first. I've been recording your daily outbursts after some time. Even the call you made from your vacation, Brian. You don't even know what you did? I can't continue like this with you. Hold on, are you sure? I said it, didn't I? I'm demanding half of the down payment from when we bought the house, the rest of the mortgage, and the repayment of the savings you spent from when I was single. Nicole, you spent the money you borrowed from me, and also withdrew from my savings with Brian, right? You're gonna repay that.
No wait, Brian, didn't you buy this house? And I never borrowed or used any of it. That's a false accusation.
Nicole, please go through everything. There's a promissory note in there for the amount you've borrowed so far.
No way, I don't know anything about this. If there's no proof, I'll do this with this scrap of paper. And me too. Hand over that recorder.
Brian stomped on the recorder, Nicole tore the paper into pieces and threw it away, and then the two of them looked at us with smug expressions. Look here, first of all, Brian. Even if you do that, there's still data on the computer. And Nicole, that wasn't the original document. What the hell are you two doing?
Oops.
Indeed, you two don't think things through. Nicole, I have a claim against you too. Spending all the savings and such. And, say hi to that guy you got close at the bar, for me. Both of them were shamelessly crying on the spot. The amount I billed Brian was a total of $115,000, $5,000 for emotional damages, $100,000 for the down payment on the house, and $10,000 for miscellaneous expenses. In addition, there's an upcoming loan repayment of $2,000. For the bill from me to Nicole, it amounted to $31,000, $8,000 for miscellaneous expenses and $23,000 for a loan for which she signed a promissory note. As for the amount billed from Kevin to Nicole, since she had been intentionally distressing him and spending money, it came to $120,000, $30,000 for emotional damages and $90,000 for miscellaneous expenses, all without any division of assets, like condos. I thought the two of them might sue since they weren't the sharpest tools in the shed, but thanks to our attorney who wrote at the end of the paperwork, if you sue, you're gonna lose for sure. No one's gonna represent you. It'll just cost you more. Work hard on your repayments. We settled it without going to court. I grabbed my packed belongings and left the house. Somehow, the word got out at my office, and he was transferred to another branch. Only a few weeks had passed when I got a message from Brian.
Pamela, I want to see you. I never thought life without you would be this lonely. Can we give it another shot? You can work as much as you want.
It's not gonna happen. Goodbye.
Pamela. It's Nicole. I think you should reconsider things with my brother. Why don't we live together? Maybe there's been some misunderstanding between us. I believe things will be better. Nicole, it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. Goodbye. They begged, but I ignored them and blocked their contacts. It seems Kevin got a similar call but turned it down and blocked them too. Sometime later, when I passed by my old house in a taxi, I saw it was already up for sale. Since the repayment was done in one go and I'd blocked all communications, I have no idea how they're doing now. As for me, I moved out and bought a condo. Work's been going well, and my boss recently told me that I've been promoted to regional director, a position I've always aimed for. I've also been out to eat with Kevin a few times. He's a bit older, but we click, and our conversations flow easily. Things feel just right now between us, and we think alike. Life's been good since the divorce. I'm glad I got divorced. What happened between me and Kevin after that is a story for another time. After giving birth to twins, I was staying at my friend Michelle's house when I received a phone call from my husband, Liam. He was asking when I planned to return home. Noticing that something was off, I decided to return home. To my surprise, a large sum of money had been withdrawn from our joint bank account without my consent. To add to that, Liam, who was supposed to be at work, was at home. I could hear voices coming from his study.
Boss, is this okay? Bringing me here when your wife isn't home.
It's fine. She won't be back for another month. Sorry about the mess.
It's fine, I'll do it. It's terrible that you're a housewife and not doing any chores.
Yeah, and she left the house to be with another man. I want to get a divorce as soon as possible. After a while, I heard some indelicate sounds coming from Selena, so I hit the record button on my cell phone. After recording for a few minutes, I quietly left the house. As I walked down the dark street, rage boiled up from the pit of my stomach. I gritted my teeth and murmured to myself. I'm here desperately trying to raise newborn twins, and he's inviting a subordinate into our house and having an affair? I will never forgive him. You better be prepared. My name is Julia. I'm a 33-year-old housewife. I met my husband Liam 4 years ago. I was invited to a drinking party to fill the numbers, and since I don't like alcohol, I was sipping in a corner when Liam, who was organizing the event, took care of me throughout the party, even when ordering food. On the way home, I was surprised when Liam told me,
I'd like to meet you again, just the two of us.
After several meetings, we began dating and got married the following year. We started a happy married life. However, it seemed that his mother, Marjorie, didn't like me. I don't remember ever being spoken to or smiled at by Marjorie, not when we first met before our marriage or when we returned home for holidays. As I am also quite shy, when Marjorie and I are alone together, our conversation doesn't flow well and an uncomfortable atmosphere always ensues.
Hello, I've been to the cemetery earlier.
Oh, have you?
It's quite hot today. Tomorrow's supposed to be 4 degrees hotter.
Well, it's summer. It's always like this. 2 years passed without closing the gap between Marjorie and myself, when I had a few days of feeling unwell and decided to visit an obstetrician-gynecologist. There, I was informed of my pregnancy. To my surprise, I was told that I could hear 2 heartbeats.
Wait, twins?
They're fraternal. Congratulations. I was over the moon. However, I was the only one excited. It was from this point on that Liam's behavior began to change drastically. I always wanted twins. I was engrossed in comics, movies, and novels where twins played a major role, and whenever I saw them on the streets, I would naturally find myself watching them. And now I was about to become a mother of twins. It was a dream come true, and I was so excited. But as I researched more on the internet, I was overcome by a great sense of anxiety. From my friends' stories, it seemed quite challenging to bear and raise 1 child, let alone 2 for the first time. Could I really bring up the kids properly? On top of that, the physical burden is said to be doubled, and the risk of falling ill seems to be high. As I was pondering, I suddenly realized I wouldn't be raising them alone, Liam would be there too. Liam would probably be wide-eyed, saying, "Twins!" He's been saying he wants kids soon, so he'll probably be delighted.
excitedly waiting for Liam to come home, who recently had a sudden increase in overtime and working on weekends.
I'm home. You haven't gone to bed yet?
Welcome home. You see, I'm thinking about quitting my job soon.
Why's that?
Because we're having a baby. Turning around, Liam's eyes bulged for a moment. But he quickly put on a forced smile.
So, you finally got pregnant.
It's twins. As I announced with my heart pounding, Liam's reaction was unexpected. After opening his eyes wide, he grimaced unpleasantly and spat out.
Are you serious? That's gonna cost twice as much.
Give me a break. Stunned, I am then asked by Liam. So, boy? Or girl?
It seems we won't know that until they get a bit bigger.
I'd prefer a boy.
Girls cost more with things like prom.
Please, let it be a boy. We don't need a girl. He said this to my belly, which had not even started to swell yet, and then went off to take a shower. I was flabbergasted. What was that comment just now? It's hard to believe these were the words of the man who said,
I can't wait to have a baby. A honeymoon baby would be great.
However, before I had time to be down, I was plunged into days of suffering from morning sickness. The dizziness and nausea were worse than expected, and every day was a rush to the bathroom at the smell of oil or rice. It was fatal for me who was working at a restaurant, and I eventually had to quit. Although I could hardly eat myself, I prepared meals and packed lunches for Liam as usual, considering his health. However, Liam didn't show any signs of concern for my condition. On the contrary, he started complaining.
The number of items in the lunchbox seems a bit less than usual, huh? Sorry, the smell of cooking makes me feel sick. You're not just using morning sickness as an excuse to skimp, are you?
And when I returned home and was lying down with a pale face, he always made a sarcastic remark.
You're lucky, you can lounge around all day and still eat thanks to me. I feel bad when I stand up. But I'm still doing the laundry and preparing the meals.
That's a housewife's duty, it's only natural. You're being too soft on yourself, it's not like you're sick. Also, he didn't seem to like the idea of going to the clinic every 2 weeks.
There's a risk 10 times higher than a normal pregnancy, which seems to make complications more likely. Yeah, so basically you're saying it's gonna cost us a lot of money. All the money I've sweated to earn is gonna be taken by you and our twins, huh?
I was honestly surprised by his reaction, I hadn't expected it. Being bad at handling finances, when we decided to get married, I confessed this to Liam and asked him to manage everything from our savings to daily expenses. Liam works for a large corporation, and his earnings are above the average American annual income. So, even after setting aside savings, living expenses, and my allowance, he should still have plenty of spending money for himself. That's why I didn't understand why he would say such harsh things. Over time, I began to feel guilty about being pregnant. When I finally reached the stable period of my pregnancy, I told Marjorie, my father at home, and my sister-in-law Michelle about my pregnancy. As expected, Marjorie's reaction was lukewarm.
Let me know when you've decided on the due date.
Okay. Well, it's more relaxing to get a straightforward reaction than being commanded to give birth to a male heir or something. In contrast, Michelle had the exact opposite reaction over the phone.
Congratulations! Twins! No way! That's so amazing that we're gonna have twins in our family. I'll support you as much as I can, so don't hesitate to ask for help.
Her warm reaction, the first since my pregnancy, made me tear up.
Julia, are you crying? I'm fine. Please give me advice again.
I actually wanted to vent to Michelle about Liam's cold attitude right away, but I thought it might make the already bad relationship between the siblings even worse, so I decided to put up with it a little longer. But Liam's verbal abuse towards me was only getting worse. Lately, he would look at my growing belly with disgust and sigh. Julia, you're getting too fat.
Other pregnant women aren't showing this much. Well, I have 2 babies inside me, so this much is normal. I've only gained about 22 pounds, and the doctor has told me to refrain from exercise because it can lead to premature labor. But it's disgusting to see you so thin, but your belly is the only thing that's grown.
I couldn't believe my ears.
You've changed so much that you've lost all your femininity.
He chuckled snidely and threw his shirt at me.
Press this once you've washed it.
I can't because of my big belly.
Put it in the laundry basket.
You're really useless.
Fine, I'll put it in the basket.
He said, looking annoyed, picked up his socks and went to the bathroom. I let out a deep sigh. I was really fed up with Liam's recent behavior. But I can't rely on my family either. After my mother passed away due to illness, my father remarried the following year and has kids, so there's no place for me. Thinking about life after the twins are born makes my chest feel like it's going to be crushed with anxiety, but I have no one else to rely on. So I had no choice but to endure. When I went for a checkup the following week, the doctor told me to be admitted to the hospital early. Considering the risk of premature birth, they suggested a C-section as soon as I entered the 9th month.
You're not planning on going back to your parents' home for childbirth, are you?
No, I'm not. My parents' house is in the neighboring city, but I never intended to live with them since I don't get along well with my stepmother and brother. Moreover, I'd probably worry myself sick if I had to spend my time in my in-laws' house with my mother-in-law. That's when Michelle suggested.
Then why don't you stay with me? As you know, Julia, my husband is currently posted overseas, and my high school-age sons live in a dormitory. I work from home and have a flexible schedule, so I can help you out with a lot.
Really? Thank you so much. When I reported to Liam that evening, he made a very displeased face.
What, are you going into the hospital already? Who's going to take care of me while you're gone? Are you going to buy ready-made meals or cook for yourself? This is going to cost me extra money.
However, the following evening, he came home in a surprisingly good mood. Touching my belly, which he had hardly ever paid attention to before, he gave me a broad grin.
Hey, I'm working for you guys, so make sure to be born safely. Here, this is your sister's favorite local wine. Give it to her as a gift.
Will you come to visit after the baby is born?
I will, once I finish my work.
But he didn't keep his word.
Liam, the baby is born safely. It's a healthy girl.
He didn't respond to the message I sent, and it seemed he even ignored Michelle's phone calls. Marjorie, who's usually aloof, rushed to the hospital and had tears in her eyes at the sight of the twins in their incubators. Every time I saw other husbands happily holding their babies, my heart ached. I wondered if Liam wasn't happy about the birth of his child. Fortunately, the twins were very healthy, and we were able to be discharged on the 8th day. The day after discharge. While I was busy nursing and changing diapers, I received a phone call from Liam.
Hey, when are you coming back?
I was so disappointed that his first words were this, considering he had been ignoring all my calls. But I held back my complaints and simply stated,
I will be staying with Michelle for about another month. You can't even take care of your husband. Let me know when you're coming back.
When the call ended, Michelle, who had been listening on speakerphone, frowned.
What's his problem, acting so high and mighty?
He's always like this.
He shows no interest in the baby and keeps talking about how it's going to cost money.
Despite them being so adorable. As Michelle cast a loving glance at the twins sleeping soundly in the back bed, she frowned.
He started talking about money all the time when we found out we were having a baby. In fact, he seemed disgruntled at first about me staying here, but then he came home in a good mood the next day.
Michelle suggested to me, who was lost in thought, with a stern look.
Something seems fishy, Julia. You might want to check his bank account and his room.
Following Michelle's advice, I returned home while the twins were sleeping. It was daytime, so Liam was at work. When I opened the app of the bank account, I found, just as Michelle had suspected, more than $10,000 that was supposed to be savings for the child had been withdrawn. As I stood there dumbfounded, I heard a young woman's voice from the other side of the wall.
Boss, is this okay? You're sneaking me in while your wife isn't around.
I gasped. Was he really bringing another woman into his study while I was away?
It's fine, she won't be back for another month.
Sorry, the house is a mess. The sweet tone that erupted from his usually harsh mouth sent chills down my spine.
It's fine. I'll do it. It's terrible that you're a housewife and not doing any chores.
She's just a homewrecker. I wish I could get a divorce already. The intimacy of the conversation was clear. After a brief pause, I heard Selena's unashamed voice, so I took out my cell phone and hit the record button. After recording for a few minutes, I quietly left the house. As I walked down the sidewalk, the initial shock subsided and a boiling anger rose from the pit of my stomach. I clenched my teeth and murmured to myself, I'm here desperately raising newborn twins, and he's inviting his subordinate to our home for an affair? Screw this, I will never forgive him. Be prepared. When I asked Michelle to go shopping in the afternoon and took a nap with the twins, the doorbell rang. When I checked through the intercom, Liam looked irritated. Rubbing my eyes, I went to answer and Liam started shouting at me.
Stop sleeping and come back to do the housework. If you refuse, we're getting a divorce.
I've already hired the divorce lawyer, though. What? As I presented the business card of my lawyer I brought from the dining room to Liam, his face twitched. I'd be at a disadvantage without an agreement on child support and asset division.
Idiot, there's no way we're really getting a divorce. There's no way you, a jobless woman with twins, can survive without me. I'll let your words slide this time, so get ready to go back.
The twins woke up at Liam's loud voice and started fussing. As I returned to the living room and picked up one, they stopped crying, but the other one continued, so they both started crying in the end. Liam, their father, should soothe them, but he was glaring at the baby bed with an annoyed expression.
Stop the crying, it's too noisy.
Unfortunately, I only have 2 arms. By the way, Liam, don't you want a divorce? You could flirt as much as you want if you divorce. Liam went pale at once.
How do you know about that? She was just consulting me about work, there's nothing suspicious.
Is that so? I smiled thinly and Liam, looking panicked, asked me. You're really Julia, right?
Why?
You're acting like your sister. Julia was obedient and always listened to me, she was a quiet woman. I snickered. Dad is not reliable at all. If I'm the only one who can protect these adorable children, then as their mother, I have no choice but to become strong. Liam suddenly shifted his gaze to the children, as if a thought had just occurred to him. By the way, what did we name these little ones again? I was stunned. Didn't he look at all the names I had sent him? I was profoundly disappointed. After putting the first child, who had stopped crying, to bed, and while rocking the still fussy second one, I laid into Liam.
I guess that's true. You wouldn't even bother looking when I showed you the written suggestions for names before they were born. You even ignored the names I sent you in a message yesterday. You were probably too busy cozying up with Selena.
It's just work.
I don't really care, just choose something and get the birth certificate sorted.
I exploded with anger at Liam's carefree attitude.
Don't you dare say the children's names don't matter. Hey, watch your mouth. I'm the one making money for you guys.
I stared straight back at the red-faced Liam. In the past, when he yelled at her like this, my body would stiffen and I would become timid. But I couldn't afford to back down now, not for the children. The only reason you can focus on your work is because I'm holding down the fort at home.
That's a woman's job.
Liam huffed pompously.
Just hurry up and get home. How long do you plan on shirking your housework duties?
I told you, I have some preparations to make and can't come home yet. Come back in a week. What a hassle, fine, got it. Liam stormed out, his footsteps loud and angry. A week later, I received a message from Liam. I asked Michelle to look after the twins and waited for Liam with my lawyer. When Liam arrived, he was taken aback at the sight of the lawyer.
Hey, who's this guy?
He's my attorney. I had to ask him over since I can't leave the twins alone for long. Sorry, Michelle, to interrupt your day off.
I'm more than happy to get all to myself with these adorable twins. You both take your time.
With a smile, Michelle headed upstairs where the twins were. While Liam was confused, I lined up the photographs handed to me by the private detective across the living room table. I played a recording of Selena's candid voice on my phone, which turned Liam pale. "So, you were just consulting on work? Using the money meant for the children at a seaside resort and amusement parks? While I'm up all night breastfeeding and changing diapers, your life seems so lavish. I'm jealous," I said sarcastically, glaring at him with eyes marked by lack of sleep. Liam looked around, forcing a strained smile.
"That's just what mothers do. You're crafty. Have you been preparing this for a week?"
"I'll divorce you, so please return the $12,000 you've squandered. Plus, I'll be taking child support as well."
"That's too much,"
Liam shouted as he stood up. He spewed out selfish reasons at a rapid-fire pace.
"It's your fault for ignoring me while you were absorbed with the babies. Despite being a wife, you didn't take care of your husband, you slacked off on housework even before you were pregnant, stayed at your sister's house even after discharge. Isn't that your fault too?"
The lawyer gave me a troubled shrug. I turned back to Liam and asked calmly, "Shall we take this to court then?"
"Yeah, do whatever you want."
"It will cost you more, is that all right?" "Huh? Speaking of which, can Julia afford it?" At Liam's question, I smiled. "I'll use my savings from when I was single. By the way, did you know? The investigation fee for the private detective has to be paid by you. After all, it's your infidelity and abusive behavior that are causing the divorce." Liam bulged his eyes. He leaned toward me, spit flying as he shouted,
"When have I ever been abusive? Enough with the lies."
"Do you want me to play the recording of your abusive language right here?" That's when the lawyer cut in. "Sorry to interrupt. The other party is a subordinate, right? If rumors of the divorce spread in the company, I suspect Liam might be demoted to a subsidiary. It would be best to keep as much money as possible." The color drained from Liam's face. For Liam, who was on the fast track to promotion, being shifted away from the main office would be a death blow. Suddenly looking panicked, Liam began to make excuses. "Hey, forgive me. It was my first affair, and it only lasted a year. If you divorce with twins, you're bound to struggle. I'm prepared for the struggle." At my curt reply, Liam gave a forced smile. "So there's no divorce then, it's hard on the kids." He tried the sympathy card next, but I remained silent with my lips pressed together.
"Please, Julia. I've worked my way up the ladder, it's just not fair to lose everything over one affair."
"You reap what you sow, don't you?"
"So, if you forgive me, it'll be okay. Please, don't go for a divorce, consider it as a favor to me."
At that moment, the door burst open. To our surprise, it was Marjorie, standing like a warrior. The usually stoic woman was blushing and trembling. Liam rushed over to Marjorie and started complaining.
"Mom, you have to convince Julia. She's been crying, saying she wants a divorce because I had an affair while she was pregnant. She's been neglecting me, being so engrossed with the baby, she bears some responsibility too." "Shut up, you fool!"
Marjorie shouted before Liam could finish speaking. Her voice was unusually loud, shocking both Liam and me. Marjorie continued to berate Liam, veins popping on her forehead.
"From what I've heard, you only care about yourself. Don't you feel any responsibility as a father? When Michelle told me you hadn't visited the hospital, I wondered if you were really that busy. But to have an affair with a subordinate. I'm speechless."
Marjorie further rebuked Liam with a stern tone.
"Your wife is carrying 2 lives, do you think she has time to cater to your needs? Can't you take care of yourself at your age, Liam? If you want to play around so much, just be single and have all the fun. It wouldn't make a difference whether a father like you is there or not in the future."
Liam, with tears in his eyes, kneeled down on the wooden floor in defeat. Marjorie approached me and lowered her voice. "Julia, I apologize for Liam's behavior. I knew you might feel uncomfortable talking to me directly about the twins, so I asked Liam about it since you were pregnant. But he never replied. So I had no choice but to ask Michelle about the due date, how the babies were growing, everything. I was taken aback by Marjorie's honesty.
My mother suggested that you should stay at our place after you are discharged from the hospital, thinking that you might feel uncomfortable at your husband's house.
Marjorie. Tears filled my eyes and I looked at Marjorie with gratitude.
Both Mom and Julia aren't good at expressing themselves, are they?
You talk too much, Michelle. Michelle spoke to me with a kinder tone than usual.
Julia, you should divorce Liam quickly. Me and Michelle are here to support you. You will feel relieved without such a useless person.
Both Mom and Sis have been really harsh. Because it's the truth. After being scolded by both, Liam obediently agreed to my demands regarding child support. As my lawyer predicted, Liam's divorce became the talk of the office. When Selena, who had learned about the birth of the twins, found out that she had been played during my pregnancy, she exposed her relationship with Liam out of spite. The rumors reached the ears of the boss in no time, and Liam was transferred to a branch office for disturbing the office's discipline. Despite Liam being a high earner, he squandered all his savings doting on Selena. As a result, we had to sell the condo we lived in and moved to a rundown apartment. The rumors about Liam having an affair with a young subordinate while his wife was pregnant spread in the branch office as well, making it unbearable for him. He ended up resigning shortly thereafter. Now, he's working from early morning till late night at several part-time jobs to make ends meet and pay child support, being reprimanded by a manager who is younger than him. I handed over the apartment to Liam in exchange for half the price, and moved to my in-laws' house. Until the twins grow up, I figured we could rely on the support of Marjorie, who has plenty of time thanks to her pension. Of course, I'd have to work too. When I explained the situation to my former workplace, they asked me to return, and so it was decided. I found an opening at a daycare center near work, and so I leave the twins there while I work full-time during the weekdays. Whenever the twins get a fever and I can't take off work, or when I need to go shopping, I ask Marjorie to babysit.
You don't have to hesitate at all. I'm actually really grateful that you let me see my grandchildren even though I'm divorced.
Marjorie has always been a woman of few words and not very affectionate, but she shows a beaming smile when she's with the twins, which makes me feel closer to her. Michelle, who comes over on her days off, might be a big part of why that is.
Mom, how about you show us a fake smile once in a while? Is that so?
Marjorie smirks, and Michelle freezes.
Scary. You look like a criminal. Did you say something? You're just fine the way you are, Mom.
I couldn't help but chuckle at that exchange. I used to think Marjorie hated me, which made it painful to be around her. But that was a huge misunderstanding. Thanks to Liam, who didn't care about the children being gone, the unnecessary stress disappeared, and I could enjoy my days. If one day the children want to meet their father, I'm considering arranging a meeting with Liam. Even without a father, as long as the twins receive plenty of love from their mother, aunt, and grandmother, they'll grow up healthily. Watching my children shower Marjorie and Michelle with innocent smiles, I was certain of it.
Lazy freeloader, get out.
While I was exhausted from childcare and accidentally dozed off, my husband kicked my belly, hurling nasty words at me. He used to be so kind and caring towards me. However, ever since we got married and had our child, he changed completely. Always making excuses like he's too busy at work or he's tired, he never helps with childcare. On top of that, he rudely refers to me as lazy because I'm always at home.
I want a divorce.
I felt that way, but given the current circumstances, I couldn't make that move easily. Then one day, I ran into my old boss and obtained some valuable information. Thanks to the support of those around me, I finally took steps to get back at my husband. My name is Jennifer. I'm a 40-year-old housewife. I live in an apartment with my husband, John, and our son, James. Though it might seem like we're a perfect family with a child, in reality, we're far from it. I've been constantly troubled and hurt by my husband since our child was born. I met my husband at a singles mixer. I was 34 back then. I was working as an office worker, and my colleagues somewhat forced me to join the mixer. I was like, who goes to mixers at 34? Feeling a bit out of place, I sat in the corner sipping my drink when John approached me. He was also dragged there by friends. We hit it off and started dating, which eventually led to marriage after a few years. For a while after getting married, we enjoyed our life as a working couple. Then one day, during our usual life.
Hey, Jennifer. Don't you think it's about time for us?
Time for what?
Having kids. I think we should start thinking about it.
John broached the topic of having kids. However, I wasn't enthusiastic about it. I loved my job and wanted to continue, and above all, I wasn't confident in raising a child. At first, I was against it, but John convinced me. He was like,
"Please! I promise to help you out."
And I eventually gave in. Looking back, that might have been the moment I started doubting him. Later, I got pregnant. Around the same time, I left my job to become a housewife and gave birth to a healthy baby boy. We named him James. Several years later, my son, James, grew up wonderfully and is now 3 years old. I'm happy about it, but he's a bit of a handful and mischievous being a boy. Lately, he has trouble going to sleep at night. And I have another concern. It's about my husband. Before we had a child, he would say things like,
"I'm gonna be hands-on too."
But once James was born, he did practically nothing. At first, if I asked, he would help. But nowadays, when I sometimes ask him to take care of James, he's like,
"Why?
I'm exhausted from work."
You're just lazing around at home all day, so it's natural you handle everything."
Even on his days off when I ask, he's like,
"I want to rest on my day off."
He never cooperates. I'm like,
"Since he's our child, you should take care of him."
Then he's always like,
"Huh? Who do you think is making money?" "I'm working hard and making money, so you're able to live."
"You aren't working, so don't interfere." Indeed, it's true that thanks to my husband's job we can maintain our lifestyle, so I couldn't argue further. I've endured, biting back my words almost every day, always thinking that it's thanks to my husband that we can live this way.
"Jennifer. I'm here."
"Oh, Mom. Sorry to trouble you."
"It's fine. I want to see my grandson once in a while."
That day, I had invited my mother to our apartment. My body couldn't keep up with the constant solo parenting, so I had asked my mom to help out just for that day. Anyway, James has grown up so much.
"Oh, by the way, I have something for you, Jennifer."
"What?" My mom took out something from her bag and was like,
"This one. A baby monitor. Place it in James's room, and I can rush to him if anything happens."
"Are you sure? You don't even live nearby but came all this way."
"Don't say that. I already bought it, so it'd be a waste if you don't take it."
Saying this, my mom handed over the baby monitor. Having received it, I placed it in the room where James's bed was. That night. I'm home. Welcome back. My husband returned from work around 6 p.m. Soon after coming back, my husband was quickly getting ready to go out again, changing into casual wear.
"Huh? You're going out somewhere?
What's up?
You got a problem with that?"
You could at least tell me where you're going. Ugh, so annoying. I'm going to the casino, alright? The casino. Again? My husband had recently gotten hooked on casinos. Apparently, he discovered the fun of it when he went with a coworker before. Everyone has their own hobbies, and going to a casino is fine, but my husband spends a significant amount of money there, and our finances are in a bad shape. Enjoying your hobby is fine, but don't spend too much money, okay? And remember, we have James.
"What? Are you saying we're short on money?" "That's probably because you can't manage our finances properly. What does having James have to do with anything? Must be nice for you, staying at home all day. And now you won't even let your hardworking husband have a hobby? After all, I'm the one earning the money, so I have every right to spend it how I want."
My husband angrily headed towards the front door with that. When I was feeling completely exasperated by the selfish husband, I noticed something. My husband was unusually peeking into James's room. "What are you doing? What's that thing on the shelf?" "It's a baby monitor. My mom gave it to us." "Oh my. Always relying on others, even though you're just sitting at home all day. Well, if you got it as a gift, I guess it can't be helped. But don't you dare ask for help from your mom." With that, my husband left the house. Regarding the camera, I surprisingly agreed with John. I never intended to rely on my mom just because we got it as a gift. But we had no idea that this camera would lead to such a situation. One day, it happened. 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. James had started running a fever since yesterday, and having been with him non-stop, I caught the fever as well. "Hey, John." "What? What is it?" "I'm sorry, but James started having a fever since yesterday. And now, it seems like I've caught it too. Can you maybe take a day off today?"
Are you kidding me? You can't just drop that on me and expect me to take a day off.
"Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But can you at least come home early today?"
Look, I'm busy with work. And all this happened because you can't take proper care of James. You brought this on yourself, so I don't want to hear it.
With that, he angrily headed off to work. Though James had a fever, it seemed he was feeling much better, energetically running around the house. I hadn't caught a cold in a while, and combined with the recent lack of sleep, I felt quite dizzy. Even in this state, I had to look after James and ensure all the household chores were done perfectly. If not, there's no telling what my husband would say. Come evening, James finally took his nap. All right, time to prepare dinner. Just as I thought this, I suddenly felt drained and collapsed into a deep sleep. The next thing I remember was being awakened by my husband's shouting.
Hey! Wake up! Are you listening?
What?
You finally wake up! You're always home, lazing around, and now you take a nap? Must be nice!
It's not like that. As I said this morning, I'm not feeling well.
Stop making excuses! I told you this morning too! It's your fault for not taking care of yourself. Always lounging at home, can't you even do the house chores? Lazy freeloader, get out!
When my husband shouted that, I felt a pain and was like,
ouch! Hey! What are you doing?
He had kicked my belly while I was lying down. Even as I cried out for him to stop, he wouldn't listen. Just when I thought he was done, he was like,
fine. I'll eat out tonight. Make sure everything's done by the time I'm back.
And with that, my husband left the house. Why did this keep happening to me? It was not like I just lazed around because I was home all the time. I took care of our energetic 3-year-old son and managed the housework for my husband. Despite all this effort, being called lazy just because I was always at home is too much. I was at my breaking point. Tears streaming, I resolved to divorce him. However, at that time, neither my husband nor I knew. Someone had been watching this whole scene. After deciding to get a divorce, I quickly began preparations. Firstly, I knew that to raise James on my own, I'd need money. For a long time, I'd been a housewife, and my husband's income wasn't that high. Not only were the costs of raising James too high, but with my husband spending money on casino, we hardly had any savings. Because of this, I had to find a daycare for James and work to save some money. But, he got rejected from the daycare again. Seems like reality didn't always work out. Despite applying to every daycare in our neighborhood, he got rejected from all of them. At this rate, I wouldn't be able to go to work. I couldn't rely on my family since my dad had been recognized as needing fully care and my mom was busy looking after him. At this rate, it wouldn't just be divorce, I wouldn't even be able to leave the house. Feeling lost, I took James with me to do the day's shopping. On the way to the supermarket, I bumped into an unexpected person.
Are you by any chance, Jennifer?
Hey, Catherine? This was Catherine. She was my boss at my previous job. It's been a long time.
Long time no see. How have you been? Oh, is this your little one? He's adorable. Hey, how about grabbing some coffee?
Accepting Catherine's offer, we headed to a nearby cafe.
Anyway, it's been such a long time. You've got a kid now, life must be good?
Catherine immediately asked about my family. I hesitated to tell her the truth, but since I used to confide in her a lot in the past, I decided to share.
The thing is, it's not. Actually, I've been thinking about getting a divorce.
I then gently explained the reasons leading up to considering a divorce. Catherine, though surprised, listened with empathy.
I see. So right now, you're looking for a place to take care of James and a job, huh?
Yes, that's right. But I haven't had any luck with either.
Well, we're short-staffed at my place. If you're up for it, how about coming back to work? If it seems feasible, I can talk to the management team. I also know someone who babysits. I can introduce you if you'd like. Oh, I feel bad accepting so much help. It's fine, really. No rush, but if you decide, just let me know anytime.
Considering I had James with me and had to prepare dinner before my husband came home, we decided to call it a day there. While I felt sorry, I felt a bit better after hearing some valuable information. I'm home. I had finished shopping and just got home. I stopped for some coffee at a cafe, so I got back a bit late. After taking off James's shoes and returning to the living room, I was faced with a scene I wasn't expecting.
What? Why are you here?
To my surprise, my mother, who shouldn't have been there, was sitting in a chair, crying.
Mom, what happened? Is something wrong? That's what I wanted to ask you. I saw it, Jennifer. I saw John kick your belly.
Apparently, on the day I was running a fever and collapsed into bed, she had been watching the footage from the security camera. After a while, she saw my husband kicking me. Concerned, she quickly arranged for my father to be placed in a day service, freed up some time, and came over. I had placed the security camera my mother gave me in James's room, but the door had been slightly ajar that day, and she could see everything from that gap.
Jennifer, things aren't going well with John, are they?
Until now, I didn't want to bother her, so I kept everything a secret. But now that she had seen it, I couldn't hide it anymore. I told her everything, that my husband never helped with childcare, that he was emotionally abusive. I thought she would ask me why I didn't tell her sooner, but she just listened, nodding silently. After I finished talking everything, she was like,
"You've done well holding up till now."
She then patted my back. I was so moved by her kindness that I started crying. After I had my cry, I consulted with her. You know, I'm thinking of divorcing him. I think I can find a job, but I can't find a place for James. And I know it would be hard for you since you're taking care of Dad. There aren't many daycare options available. So, I'm not sure what to do. Don't worry about that. I can take care of James. I was actually thinking of placing your father in a nursing facility soon, so the timing is perfect. Really? Are you sure? I feel bad for Dad. It's okay. Your father would understand. I can't just stand by and do nothing when my own daughter is going through so much. Thanks, Mom. That was how all the problems I was facing regarding my divorce were suddenly resolved. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Maybe this was a reward from God for all the hard work I've put in. With my job situation sorted and having found a place for James, I began to move forward with the divorce. First, I started by packing to move back to my parents' house. I'd already told James to say bye to his daddy for a while and we would live with his grandma. James was still little, so he didn't seem to fully grasp the meaning, but he appeared excited about the new life ahead. Honestly, managing household chores, childcare, and preparing for the divorce were super tough. But, my mom came over often while my husband was away and helped out in various ways. I gradually sent my belongings back to my parents' house. I also reached out to Catherine, ensuring that my return to work would be smooth. And finally, the day came. Take care. As I saw my husband off to work, I started making the final preparations. Mom, you can come out now. My mom had come over the night before to help out for this day. My husband, when he returned from work, typically only went to the living room, bathroom, and his own bedroom, so I had my mom sleep in James's room. I was worried he'd noticed, but since he never helped with childcare, he never entered James's room. So we got through the night unnoticed. The fact that things belonging to James and me were gradually disappearing from the house, and he didn't even notice my mother staying over, what a clueless man. With my mom's help, we packed all my stuff into the car and had a service take them to my parents' house.
Well, thanks for everything, Mom.
You sure you're okay? Maybe I should stay with you. I get your concern, but I'll be fine. I'm gonna settle this, promise. Saying that, my mom took James and went back to our family home first. Lastly, I packed up all of my husband's stuff into boxes, shipped them to a certain place, and waited for him to return from work. I'm home. Welcome back. Huh? Why are you dressed like that? You usually wear those boring gray sweatshirt. You going out later or something? Ignoring his usual sarcastic remarks, I took his belongings. Unaware of anything, my husband just walked into the living room as usual.
What the hey? What's all this about?
What my husband saw was an empty living room, devoid of any furniture. Panicking, he rushed to check his bedroom, James's room, the bathroom, and the toilet.
Hey! What's going on here?
Of course, it wasn't just the living room that was empty. Every room, the bathroom, the toilet, they were all empty.
My stuff's gone, James is missing, hey! What's going on? Explain.
Don't you see? I decided to terminate the lease and move out.
Moving? Why did you decide that on your own?
Well, first of all, this apartment was rented by me, so it's only natural I do what I want with it.
Oh, is that so?
So where's this new place?
I bet James is there, huh? We better hurry. Leaving James home alone is dangerous.
New place? I don't have one, John.
What?
It's obvious, isn't it? Because we're getting divorced.
Divorced? What are you talking about? There's no way you, who haven't been working, can raise James on your own. Stop with that ridiculous idea.
The one with the ridiculous idea is you, John. I've decided to return to my old job. I've found someone to take care of James, so there's nothing to worry about.
No, you're the one who's crazy. If we divorce, you're gonna have to pay me compensation, right? You've been a housewife, and I've been supporting you. You'll have to pay me that compensation. You don't even have that kind of money. You really gonna go through with the divorce?
What? I was too flabbergasted to even speak. At the last moment, my husband seemed to think he was in a position to receive compensation. I took out my smartphone and played a voice recording. It was a series of verbal abuse comments my husband had thrown at me over the years. After hearing this, you still think you're gonna get compensation? Also, about not being able to pay compensation, I could say the same about you. Especially since you always blow your earnings on the casino.
Humph. Anyone can fake that nowadays with AI. That can't be used as evidence. Now, if there was actual footage, that would be a different story.
It exists.
What?
I then showed my husband a video from the day he kicked me.
Why do you have that footage? No way.
Yes, that's it. Remember that baby camera I showed you the other day? It recorded everything. And my mom saw it all live. Do you still think you can talk your way out of this?
You're lying.
My husband's face paled as he seemed to realize he was backed into a corner. It served him right. Well, isn't it about time? As I said that, my husband's phone rang. When John answered it apprehensively, the person was like,
"What on earth have you done?"
The caller was my husband's mother. In fact, after seeing off my mom and James, I had sent my husband's belongings to his parents' house. Afterward, I contacted my husband's mother and explained the whole situation to her. I also told her that I was going to discuss divorce today and asked her to find the right time to call my husband. This was followed by a good long lecture from her.
Jennifer told me everything. I've seen all the recordings and videos. What's with that attitude? The reason you can go to work every day is because Jennifer takes care of everything at home. And yet, you don't even thank her, and you treat her so poorly. I didn't raise you to be like this. Listen to what Jennifer says and come back home right now.
And with that, my husband was taken back to his family's home. During the lecture, my husband was like a broken robot, just silently listening. So, are you gonna confirm you contact the lawyer and leave quickly? When I said that, my husband just agreed to contact a lawyer who assists the divorce process and slowly left the house. Finally, I was able to put an end to my life with my husband. After that, I left the apartment and headed back to my family home. I got a restraining order from the police just in case my husband decided to come to the family home, as I didn't want him around. I submitted the audio recordings and footage from the camera as evidence. It seemed he might even face arrest based on this evidence. I communicated with my husband through my lawyer. Apparently, my husband was like,
I want to take back the divorce and try again. I'll do better next time and I promise I won't do anything like that again. Please forgive me.
But after all the horrible things he did, I didn't ever want to deal with him again. I was like,
I'm never going back, and I don't ever want to see you again.
I made him promise to pay child support. After leaving the apartment that day, my husband obediently headed to his parents' home. My husband's family's home was quite far from the company he worked at, so he couldn't commute anymore and eventually had to quit. My husband loved playing the casino, but it seems he can't do that anymore since his mother manages his money now. Regarding his job, when I explained the situation to the apartment landlord, word got around to other residents, and somehow, the news reached his company. He would have had to resign sooner or later. Well, I'm off to work now, please take care of James.
Don't worry about it. Come on, James, let's have some fun with Grandma.
I've successfully returned to work. Thanks to the kindness of my colleagues, I feel comfortable at my workplace. James is very attached to my mother, and we live happily every day. I truly feel blessed by the people around me. I hope to repay the kindness of those who have supported me by moving forward with a positive attitude. I'll pay you, so just settle this, she said. How much do you want? As soon as she entered the hospital room, I was momentarily stunned by her unbelievable statement.
What did you say, Catherine? What did you just say?
I meant exactly what I said.
What do you mean? Answer me.
One wrong step, and it would have been a big deal, this terrible thing she did to us. After pulling that stunt and then offering us money to settle, how far does she have to go in belittling me, no, us, before she's satisfied?
I have no intention of complying with such nonsense. Catherine, you will take full responsibility. What did you say? You're just as cheeky as ever. Don't make us angry. You have no idea what we'll do if you make us angry.
I barely held back my unbearable anger and engaged in a verbal battle with these shameless so-called friends, Catherine and her husband.
I've heard everything.
My husband joined in the fight, cutting in sharply. Both Catherine and her husband were taken aback by my husband's menacing expression, something I had never seen before.
Catherine, you really haven't changed at all since high school. You always think everything can be solved with money. What's wrong with that? Everyone wants money, don't they? Yeah, exactly. That's how the world works. If we give her money, she won't complain.
My husband pointed his finger at the arrogant couple and retorted.
Shall we test if money really can solve everything?
The couple was silenced by this declaration but left the hospital room, leaving a parting shot behind. It's true that everyone wants money, as Catherine said. Money is like magic that literally transforms fun and happiness, a unique magic in this world. However, as my husband said, there are things that money can't buy and can't solve. Catherine will be forced to recognize this fact, along with the reality that she tried to take my life and the life within me so casually. My name is Sarah Smith. I'm 32 years old and 9 months pregnant. I have a husband of the same age, Bob, who is also looking forward to the birth of our child. We would like to welcome the birth of our child with peace of mind, but reality won't let us. That's because there's someone who disapproves of our child's birth. It's one of my so-called friends, Catherine, who has been a nuisance since high school. Catherine's family owns a major resort company, and she's quite rich. She's beautiful and excels in both academics and sports, making her a celebrity in high school. However, having been spoiled by her parents since childhood, she grew up to be incredibly selfish and attention-seeking. Because of her personality and upbringing, she became infamous for using money to get whatever she wanted. During this time, Catherine targeted Bob and repeatedly demanded that he become her lover by aggressively confessing and dangling money. Bob was fed up with Catherine and chose me over her because he had always had pure feelings for me. But this made the future more challenging, and I became her enemy.
You don't deserve Bob, Sarah. You're just an ordinary person. Give him to me, right now. What? But Catherine. I'm prettier than you, Sarah. And I have money. Catherine, can you please stop this?
In this way, my husband and I endured verbal and financial harassment from Catherine throughout high school. We consulted teachers many times, but they were all silenced by Catherine's money. Until Catherine graduated, my husband and I tried not to provoke her and avoided her as much as possible. After she graduated, we didn't know what happened to her, but she stopped bothering us. We thought she had finally given up. But we never dreamed that this past would have a significant impact on the current situation. A few years later, Sarah and I, thinking we'd never meet Catherine again, were surprised when she suddenly appeared before us.
Oh, isn't that Sarah and Bob? I haven't seen you in a while. Even though you guys are as poor as church mice, you seem to have made a decent home.
Catherine had also gotten married and, like us, had a family with a husband and kids. However, she still seemed to flaunt her wealth, with her husband, Richard, and her son and daughter dressed in flashy, expensive designer clothes and bags. They drove around in posh cars. On top of that, just like in high school, she'd flaunt wads of cash in front of her friends and offer it to them as spending money. While most of these friends refused, some were blinded by the money and accepted it, becoming beholden to Catherine. Catherine used these paid-off friends to annoy Bob and me.
Sarah, you always dress so plain. Can't you afford better clothes since back in the day? Don't walk proudly in front of me. Maybe that alley is more suited for your walks. This cafe isn't for poor folks like you and Bob. I'll give you some cash. Why don't you go to a nearby diner for lunch?
She always nitpicked our attire and actions, and kept flashing her money just like in high school. You shouldn't engage with folks like her. It only amuses and emboldens them. So, let her rant until she's tired. At first, I was tempted to retort, when will she ever get tired, but I held back. Just as Bob said, you can see that such people will escalate their antics when given attention. So together with Bob, we decided to mostly ignore Catherine's provocations. One day, I became pregnant. When we found out, Bob was genuinely thrilled and said, now I gotta step up and not be an embarrassment as a father. Strengthened by his determination, I also felt the resolve to live a life without regrets as a mother, for our unborn child. We only hoped Catherine would leave us alone, but life wasn't so kind. One day, 9 months into my pregnancy, I ran into Catherine while returning from shopping.
Oh, Sarah, you've put on quite some weight. What have you been eating to look like that? It's not weight. I'm pregnant. If you've nothing to say, please leave me alone.
But Catherine, irked by the response, confronted me.
Not just your belly, even your attitude's gotten big. How dare a plain Jane like you get pregnant? What you think doesn't matter to me. I just want a peaceful delivery.
I tried to calmly leave, but Catherine became even more agitated. Hold on, Sarah. Getting cheeky, aren't you? Catherine yelled, trying to grab me from behind. In the struggle, Catherine's arm accidentally struck my belly, causing me to fall hard. In pain, I crumpled to the ground.
It hurts. Someone, help.
Barely conscious, I managed to call Bob using my cell phone. I informed him that the baby was in danger before passing out. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed with an 4 in my arm and covered in a warm electric blanket.
Mrs. Smith, I'm so glad you woke up,
a familiar voice said. When I looked, I saw my close friends, Mary and Jane, by her side.
What happened? The baby.
Now, Mrs. Smith, you mustn't exert yourself, Mary cautioned. I tried to sit up but was struck by pain in my abdomen. Mary and Jane gently helped me lie down. But Sarah noticed her previously large belly was now smaller, and she was devastated. I asked the nurse I had called with the nurse call what had happened, and it seemed that I had gone into labor as it was and had given birth by emergency C-section. The baby I had given birth to was still small and in an incubator, but very lively, and there was nothing wrong with its life. My husband, who had rushed over from work after hearing my phone call, was said to have turned bright red with anger after hearing an explanation from Mary and Jane, who had happened to pass by and called the emergency, and from my attending physician. Anyway, I decided to go see the baby once I felt better, following the advice of Mary and Jane. I tried to sleep as much as possible to recover quickly. However, the next day, an incredible couple came to my hospital room. It was Catherine and Richard, the ones who sent me to the hospital.
You! Mr. Miller! How dare you show up like this? I'll ask you just in case, but what on earth have you come here for?
Mary and Jane, who had come to visit me, stared at the two with stern eyes, but the two ignored them and came closer to my bed. After doing that to me, and entering the room without even a greeting or a knock, I had to frown at what was so well described as shameless. And then, that uncivilized couple suddenly threw these unbelievable words at me.
I'll get right to the point. How much do you want? What? We'll pay you, so let's settle this. How much do you want?
My head went blank and I got the chills.
What did you say? Catherine, what did you just say? It means exactly what I said, you know? So what do you mean, I'm asking? Answer me.
To think that you would do such a thing to the child in my belly and say that you'll pay me to settle. How much more do you have to insult me, or rather us, before you're satisfied?
I have no intention of agreeing to such a ridiculous proposal. I will hold you, Catherine, responsible as appropriate.
I clearly refused, and Catherine and Richard spewed out all the abusive language they could think of.
What did you say? You're as cheeky as ever. Don't anger us too much. You don't know what will happen if you do. You're not being cheeky at all. Could you please stop messing around and making fun of us? That's right, Catherine. Do you even realize what you did? If you had made one wrong step, it could have been serious. She really had a baby in her belly. And Catherine, you carelessly put both Sarah and the baby in danger. Huh? What are you talking about? We're trying to settle this with money. Aren't you grateful? You people know your place. Didn't your parents teach you anything? We're saying let's settle us. Agree to the settlement before you make a big deal out of it by making us angry.
Jane and Mary joined in with my words, and when they spoke out with force, Catherine and Richard raged back at them, not only at me but also at Jane and Mary. As we were arguing loudly, forgetting that we were in a hospital room, the door suddenly opened with a loud noise.
I've heard all the talk. Sorry, but I have no intention of settling at all.
The one who cut in with a calm but menacing voice was my husband. Mary and Jane looked back at my husband in surprise. Catherine and Richard had not expected my husband to come, and before his first ever truly angry expression, they suddenly became intimidated. Honestly, I too had never seen my husband truly angry, so both Mary and Jane, along with me, were taken aback. My husband walked up to Catherine and Richard and said calmly but vigorously,
Catherine, you really haven't changed since high school. You always think you can solve anything with money. What did you say? What's wrong with that? Everyone wants money, don't they?
Catherine recoiled at being bluntly told off. Money is indeed something that everyone wants, no matter the era. But there are things that money can't buy, and problems it can't solve. I won't deny that. This was exactly the case now, and no matter how much money they offered, I couldn't forgive them. I was thankful that my daughter, who was in the incubator, was alive and well, but had one step gone wrong, she might not have been in this world. Catherine didn't understand this at all. Richard, who was standing next to her, was probably of the same mind. That made it all the more impossible for me to forgive them, and I didn't want to hear the word settlement so easily.
I'm with Bob on this. If it's a problem that can be solved with money, we don't need the police. So I'll say it again. Get out and take responsibility. What? You're more insolent than ever today. Anyone would be happy if they could get their hands on some money, wouldn't they? Yeah, exactly. That's just how the world works. This woman wouldn't complain either if she got some money.
After this, Catherine and Richard became more aggressive, hurling insults. The two of them flaunted their shallow personalities so openly that I no longer had the energy to get angry. Then, at that moment, my husband forcefully pointed at Catherine and Richard and declared,
"Then, let's really test if money can solve everything." What?
At my husband's meaningful retort, Catherine and Richard were taken aback. I was also taken aback, but Catherine glanced back at Bob, her face mocking along with Richard.
What do you mean, test it? Are you stupid? What can poor people like you and Sarah possibly do?
Catherine spat out those words and left the hospital room with Richard.
Bob, what are you planning to do? Sarah, don't worry. Leave everything to me,
Bob said, and somehow winked at Mary and Jane. Mary and Jane also nodded and reassured me, saying, "It's all right." I didn't understand what was going on, but I had just finished surgery and was not fully recovered, so arguing or talking further would have been too painful. So I decided to trust my husband for now and rest my body. The next evening, Catherine burst into the hospital. Literally, in a frenzy.
Come on, you're in there, aren't you? I know it's your doing. Stop lying around and come out, you timid woman.
Outside the hospital room, Catherine was arguing with the nurses, yelling incoherently. During this commotion, my husband, who had come to visit after work, saw the ruckus outside the hospital room and calmly said,
"Hey, what are you doing now? Showing up at the hospital and making a scene like this. Are you okay in the head?"
Catherine then shifted her anger to my husband and yelled at him. "The disturbance at our house yesterday, it was definitely you and Sarah's doing. To bring the police and a lawyer into a mere quarrel between friends, what are you thinking?"
Mere quarrel? You should save your nonsense for when you're asleep. That's the most fitting and effective way to deal with a crazy woman like you, right? What did you say? Save your excuses for the police station. Any more and you'll be bothering the other patients.
While being rebuffed by Bob, Catherine continued to scream and tried to approach my hospital room. However, she was restrained by security guards who seemed to have rushed over, and her voice gradually faded away. Then I heard a siren from outside, followed by more shouting, and realized that Catherine must have been picked up by a patrol car that Bob or the hospital had called. That night, Richard unexpectedly called.
"I'm divorcing that woman, and I won't get involved with you anymore. So don't drag me into this mess any further."
He called out of the blue, saying something incomprehensible. A self-centered talk.
If your wife is like that, then you're no better as a husband. I'll hear the details later, but please stop bothering me with your incomprehensible and selfish demands.
After that, I think Richard shouted something over the phone, but I hung up without paying attention. Of course, I didn't forget to block his number, and finally surrendered to the quiet rest that had arrived. I later learned that Mary's husband works at the police station, and Jane's husband is a newspaper reporter. They're friends with my husband and get along well enough to keep in touch. After the incident with Catherine and Richard at the hospital, my husband immediately sought their cooperation, and his friends agreed. Moreover, Mary and Jane, who were fed up with Catherine, came forward and offered to help in avenging me. First, with the cooperation of Mary's husband, a police officer, my husband filed a complaint against Catherine for assault and obstruction, leading to her arrest. Afterwards, a meeting was arranged through Jane, a lawyer, but Catherine stubbornly insisted that she had done nothing wrong. In response, Mary produced a recording of the conversation in the hospital room as evidence. Furthermore, there were eyewitness testimonies from Mary and Jane who were present at the scene of the assault, so Catherine was found guilty, and it was decided that she had to pay a large amount of compensation. After that, Jane's husband reported to the newspaper company, and with the incident being reported in the newspapers, not only Catherine but also her family suffered a major blow. Moreover, Catherine's parents seemed to have embezzled company funds to cover up her wrongdoing, and the company's reputation plummeted, leading to a rapid deterioration in business. Richard had been freely acting within the company using Catherine's money, but his colleagues did not think highly of him. Later, word spread about Richard's behavior, and he became isolated within the company. The situation worsened, and Richard was ordered to transfer to a rural area by the HR department. Afterward, Richard resigned from the company and was seen boarding a plane bound for Nebraska, but his whereabouts since then are unknown. Meanwhile, Catherine's divorce from Richard was finalized, and along with losing support from her parents and having to pay compensation, she ended up with significant debt. The children were taken away, and she faced a difficult situation. Now, she is said to be living as a homeless person in a park somewhere, surviving in line for volunteer soup kitchens. According to Mary and Jane, they witnessed her there. A few months after the incident, I was discharged from the hospital safely with my newborn daughter, and was able to receive a large amount of compensation. My daughter is healthy without any lingering effects, and she is growing well. My husband and I are enjoying a peaceful life, watching over our daughter's growth and cherishing our friendship with Mary and Jane. The impact of the incident was severe, but it seems that a calm life has returned.
I threw out your stuff because it was in the way.
Just as I thought, it was Caroline's doing. All of my things, from clothes to cosmetics, were gone. Thankfully, I had taken my computer with me when I left, so it was safe. But this was really pushing my buttons. Robert was smirking right alongside Caroline. Caroline started it, and Robert helped her. Why the blank stare? If you need something, go pick it up from the trash.
And you might as well move out. You're in the way, old lady.
I've been lenient because she's his daughter from another marriage, and I've never challenged Robert's parenting decisions. But her attitude has been disrespectful from the start, and after ignoring me for a year, she threw out all of my things. Anyone would be mad after all this. They have no idea what they're in for when I get angry. What pitiable folks they are. It's decided I'm getting a divorce. Who knows if Caroline will make it to college, and Robert, with all his hobbies, will surely get stressed out when he can't afford them anymore. And first off, he won't have a house anymore. It'll be a sight to see.
Oh, I see. I'm the nuisance. Fine, I hope you two regret it. Don't come crawling back to me later. No matter how much you cry or get angry, it won't concern me anymore. Regret it, all right?
My name is Nancy Rivers. I'm 38 years old and own a house. I hate when people get too nosy about my job, so I say I've renovated my parents' home and live there. I originally started with investments, and even after switching to high-risk, high-reward stocks, my assets have been growing steadily. My father was into investing in stocks, and taught me the ropes ever since I could remember, so while I'm self-taught, I believe it suits me. Then, my encounter with Robert happened when he joined the gym I'd been attending for years. We happened to wear sportswear from the same brand, which led Robert to strike up a conversation. We started chatting more and more every time we met, and soon began hanging out. Robert had a lot of hobbies, like the gym, golf, cars, fishing, and he was so knowledgeable about them all. I was never bored with him. When he asked me out, we had this conversation.
Ever since I first saw you, Nancy, I couldn't get you out of my mind. I want us to date with marriage in mind. Yes, I'd love to. I'm so happy, I felt the same way.
There's something I have to tell you. What is it? Well, I'm divorced. My ex-wife didn't understand my hobbies and always negated them. That's why we split up. I have a daughter with her, and I've been taking care of her at my parents' home. I'm sorry, I was worried that if I told you this, you wouldn't want to be with me. Are you okay with all this?
Well, if I'm gonna become her stepmom, I'd better get on good terms with her, right?
Nancy, does that mean?
I don't mind all that. No matter what happened, my feelings for you won't change.
After that, we began dating. Back then, Robert's daughter, Caroline, was in 6th grade and I thought she was a sweet and friendly child. Whenever we met, she always greeted me with a bright smile and seemed so happy.
Nancy, I'm so glad to see you today. I love shopping for clothes with you. Oh, Caroline dear, you're truly adorable. Makes me want to buy you something.
Look at you two having fun. Let me join in too.
Dad's just being jealous.
Indeed, Robert sure gets jealous easily. I always felt that Caroline was really attached to me. I'd often buy her clothes that suited her, and I used to bring cake every time I visited, which she always loved. One evening, during dinner, Caroline quietly mentioned it'd be so much fun if Nancy were with us every day. That became the catalyst for Robert to propose to me. It happened about 2 years after we started dating. When Caroline started 9th grade, given that I was living in a single-family home, both of them moved in with me. At that time, I hadn't told Robert about how I earned my living, only mentioning that I was a remote worker. I once told an ex-boyfriend in detail about my income. But after I did, he started mooching off me, making it hard for me to break up with him. I had intended to tell Robert after our marriage, but time flew and I completely forgot. A year and a bit after we started living together, with Caroline nearing the end of her freshman year in high school, I began to notice a change. Both Caroline and Robert's attitudes towards me had visibly soured. Robert's take-home pay was roughly $2,700 and he used to contribute around $1,000 for household expenses since we lived in a house I owned. However, now he only put in $200, spending the rest on himself and Caroline. When they ran out, both would come asking me for more. They seemed to be spending a lot on their hobbies. Robert was lavish in his spending. One day, I had to address the issue. Hey, Robert? Can we talk? Now? I gotta play my game, so make it quick. Caroline's spending seems excessive. Buying her designer items and expensive things while she's just a high school freshman? How much allowance are you giving her? And Robert, while it's fine to have hobbies, aren't you spending way too much? You're also making in-app purchases, right? Why not sell stuff you don't use? How much did I give Caroline again? Like $1,000 or something, right? I want to buy her everything she wants and she says there are a lot of places she wants to go. Caroline's my precious only daughter, so why not? And, don't interfere with my hobbies. Though even if you did, I wouldn't listen. I work hard every day to feed y'all, you know? What? You're saying I can't even have hobbies?
Wait, what? You gave her $1,000? What on earth were you thinking? Hold on, are you saying you're giving her $1,000 a month and she's still asking me for allowance? In that case, I need to talk to Caroline too. But let's address your excessive spending first, okay? It's not about you quitting your hobbies, it's about you spending too much. Do you even realize how much money you're putting into the house? It's just $200, how are we supposed to live? Hey, don't be too hard on Caroline, alright? She's just a kid. And so what if I spend too much? It's my hard-earned money. Look, I've always been the type to dive in headfirst when it comes to things I like. And I'm contributing $200, isn't that enough? Your place is already paid off so we don't have expenses there. Plus, you're working too, right? We've managed until now, so don't make a fuss. Yes, it's your money, but there should be limits, right? Just because it's a paid-off house doesn't mean there are no taxes or utilities. Our bills can't be covered with just $200. I'm working too, but the point is, you're overspending.
At my parents' house, $200 was enough. If there's a shortfall, why don't you cover it?
You mean at your dad and mom's place, right? They're both still working, aren't they? And the size of their home is different from ours. We have to pay more because of that. Are you subtly telling me my parents' house is small? That's it, I've had enough of this. Just go away, I'm not listening anymore. You're so bothersome, Nancy.
No, Robert, that's not what I meant. You brought up the subject of money in the first place. Why cut me off when I'm still speaking? While I was still talking, Robert put on his headphones and started playing a game, so I couldn't continue the conversation. I had to tell Caroline something important, but she was out having fun and I didn't know when she would be back, so I couldn't find the right time. Right after Caroline started her junior year of high school, the weather was bad and we all happened to be home, so I suggested we have a family meeting. Despite the clear reluctance from the two of them, I managed to convince them, saying it wouldn't take long. We decided to have the talk in the living room. Caroline, I heard from Robert that he's been giving you $1,000 as an allowance. But every month you also come to me asking for money. What are you spending all that on? Also, you've been staying out too late too often. Enough is enough.
Why are you butting in? You're not even my real mother. It's none of your business what I do. Leave me alone.
You might not be my biological child, but right now, I am your mother. If you continue spending money like this, you're gonna face issues in the future. That's why I'm concerned. If you don't tell me why you need so much money, I won't give you any.
Ugh, this is so annoying. I just have a lot of things I want. There are social commitments too, can't you just stay out of it?
Exactly, high school students have their own social lives, you know. Don't be so naggy.
I get that she has friends and that teenagers want brand name stuff. But this is about the amount she's getting. What's your deal? Everyone gets this much, it's normal. Things are different from when you, old lady, were young. Back then, you'd get me cakes and all the stuff I wanted without asking. But now you're acting all high and mighty. It's kinda funny. Hold on, did you just call me old? I am your mother, Caroline. It's my responsibility to tell you when something isn't right.
I got a bit heated and responded strongly. It seemed Caroline didn't like that. She made an annoyed face, clicked her tongue loudly, and began to raise her voice.
Seriously, this is so annoying. I thought we were playing Happy Family because you'd buy me anything I wanted. Why are you acting all high and mighty now? Just forget it, I'm gonna act like you don't exist, so stop interfering. Wait a minute. Nancy, enough is enough. You're going too far. Apologize to Caroline. What? Am I the bad guy now? Playing Happy Family? What does that even mean?
I thought you'd be an easygoing woman. Guess I was wrong. Just apologize, okay? I was taken aback. I hadn't realized that Robert felt that way too. From the next day, Caroline completely ignored my existence. Robert texted me in the morning, "I won't talk much until you apologize to Caroline." As days went by, I started to question the purpose of us being together and began contemplating divorce. It had been about a year since Caroline started ignoring me. Caroline was in her senior year of high school. Robert and Caroline continued their reckless spending, and even when I stopped giving them money, they would withdraw funds from the account meant for bills. Even though I was depositing nearly $2,000 every month, they withdrew it all. Due to their continuous behavior, I made a decision and approached Robert for a discussion. "Robert, do you have a moment? I need to talk." "What's up? You finally gonna apologize to Caroline?" "No. I don't see a reason for us to be together anymore. I want you to leave this house."
Excuse me? Have you lost your mind?
"No, I'm serious." All right. Give me some time to think, okay? I need to talk to Caroline too.
I'd like you to leave in 3 days. I've taken the day off work and will be at the gym. Please pack your things and leave by the time I get back.
Oh, in 3 days? Got it. I couldn't tell if Robert was really listening, but I said what I had to say. I had a feeling that they both would not want to stay in the same house as me. 3 days later, I spent some time at a cafe, did an extended workout at the gym, and then returned home. Seeing their shoes still in the house, I assumed they were still around. But when I opened the shoe cabinet to put away my gym shoes, I was shocked. All of my heels, pumps, and boots that were supposed to be there were gone. I had a bad feeling and hurried inside. When I reached my room, everything was missing. I couldn't find a single piece of jewelry anywhere. As I rushed to the living room, I saw Caroline and Robert. Both were smirking at me. Then, after a year of silence, Caroline spoke to me. "Oh, you're back. What's the rush?"
Where's my stuff?
"We thought your things were in the way, so we threw them out." Just as I suspected, it was Caroline's doing. All my belongings, like my clothes and makeup, were gone. Thankfully, I had taken my computer with me, so it was safe, but this is just too much, and I'm really ticked off. Robert and Caroline are both smirking together. It was Caroline who started it, and Robert just helped her.
What's with that blank look? If there's something you really need, why don't you pick it up? By the way, why don't you just leave?
You're in the way, old lady.
Oh, I see. I'm a bother, huh? Fine, I hope you both get what's coming to you. And don't come crawling back later. It won't matter to me whether you cry or get mad. I hope you regret it.
Regret? Why would we cling to an old lady like you?
That's right, just like Caroline said. We're the ones doing you a favor by being married to you. We might appreciate you for being married, but we won't ever cling to you in tears.
Hearing this, I took my belongings and headed to a motel. Luckily, there was a room available, and I was able to stay the night. Watch me. Thinking that, I did what I needed to do. And then, about a month later, my phone rang loudly. It was from Robert. I knew he'd call eventually. It was so predictable, I couldn't help but chuckle. I let it ring for a while before answering.
Hey! Nancy, where the hell are you? Enough is enough, come back home. Oh, I'm just the bothersome old lady, remember? Enough already. If you're sorry, come back and live with us.
Live together? You have quite a sense of humor.
Why don't you just sign the divorce papers I put in the mailbox? Mailbox? Divorce papers? What are you talking about?
Ugh. Haven't you checked the mailbox? Why don't you look now? Just wait. I guess he went to check the mailbox because I could hear footsteps over the phone. I decided to wait. After a bit, I heard the sound of him hurrying back. He probably was shocked by what he found.
Nancy! There's an overdue notice for the electric bill. What's with this amount? But the lights are still on, and the water's hot. I paid it, so why did it come?
Robert, you don't know anything, do you? We have an all-electric house, so the bill's always been that much. And if there's an overdue notice, the due date is the end of this month, right? You'd better pay it. I'm not living in that house anymore, so I haven't paid. Plus, I changed the auto payment to your bank account. You know electricity doesn't get cut off immediately if you don't pay, right? Didn't you even know that?
What the hell? There's no money in my account to auto pay. Please, pay it. I'm broke till my next payday.
Ah, why do I have to pay for you guys? Isn't the cell phone bill due soon?
Hold on. Nancy, did you switch the mobile account to mine too?
Yes. Both yours and Caroline's charges are being deducted from your account. Caroline's too? How much is it gonna be in total? You probably wouldn't know. You spend money on in-app purchases, and Caroline shops using a payment method that bills along with her cell phone. Including mine, it's about $2,500 a month.
What? That much? I don't think I spent that much on games.
Well, when you weren't spending, it seems Caroline was buying accessories. You spend at least $800 every month, don't you? Don't you realize that? By the way, my share was just a bit over $100, I think.
I can't do this. There's no way I can pay that much.
Robert, want me to clue you in on something? What is it? Our monthly expenses, including the allowance I've been giving you both, amount to almost $8,000. Did you know that? House taxes, utilities, your car loan, mobile bills, the money spent on your hobbies, the money I gave Caroline, and everything else. It's roughly this amount.
Wait, what? $8,000? Hey, there's no way.
It's true. Remember when I got mad at you for overspending? There were times when it even crossed $10,000. Wasn't it when Caroline bought 3 designer bags? Well, I could pay it because it was me. Hold on, Caroline was spending that much? There's no way I can afford that. And what do you mean you could pay because it was you? What's that supposed to mean? Robert, you really didn't know much about my job, did you? Anyway, I'll have to go to the house for some business soon, so I'll tell you then.
Wait, are you coming back? Thank God. Please come back soon.
Huh? What are you talking about? It will be when I see you next. Meantime, you'll have to handle the payments yourself, okay? With that, I abruptly hung up the phone. Feeling somewhat refreshed, Robert lounged around when his phone rang again. He quickly answered upon seeing the caller ID. Now that a date was set, I decided to leave a message. I told Robert I'd see him in a week and then I muted only his contact number. A week later, when I arrived, Robert had taken the day off and was eagerly waiting for her. I figured he'd be there, but was still debating whether or not to talk about my job directly. Considering all possibilities, I decided I'd bring it up just before leaving. I've been waiting. Who are those guys? Multiple boyfriends? No. They came to look at the house. Why? I'll tell you everything before I leave. First, what did you do about the payments? And the divorce papers?
I had to beg my parents to lend me some money. I need your help from next month, okay? We're not getting a divorce. No, I'm gonna get a divorce. I won't pay. Why the hell not? Then why'd you come back?
To get your signature on the divorce papers. You thought I was here to check out the house?
Hell no. I'm not divorcing, so I ain't signing any papers. What do you mean by checking out?
Forget about the checking out for now. If you don't sign the divorce papers, Caroline will be mad at you. If you don't want Caroline to hate you, you'd better sign them. Otherwise, I might consult a lawyer and ask you to pay back all the money I've spent on you, okay?
Fine.
Oh, did the mention of a lawyer scare you? I just don't want Caroline to hate me. And if you're gonna send me a bill for everything, I'll just get a divorce. But let's live here together. What? No way. Just then, the men who had come with Nancy returned from checking out the house. Turns out, they were contractors specializing in demolition. I got his signature on the divorce papers and revealed the truth as we were leaving. Ah, you'll need to move out of this house soon. Just so you know.
What the hell do you mean?
Well, I built this house.
What? I thought you just renovated your parents' house. Hey, you never mentioned this.
No, you got it wrong.
I wanted to talk about it when we had more trust. But thanks for showing your true colors early.
So, Nancy, you must be making a lot of money, right? You never mentioned a mortgage or anything. I've already paid off the mortgage. We'll talk about the rest later. I want to go and submit these divorce papers now.
If you're making that much, forget the divorce. Give that back.
Robert tried to snatch away the divorce papers, but the burly contractors easily restrained him. Eventually, they took him in their truck to the courthouse. The divorce papers were accepted without issue. The next day, perhaps he had the day off, Robert called several times. Figuring he was curious about work, I answered the phone. Instead of Robert, it was Caroline, though it sounded like Robert was there too since she was on speaker.
Hey! What do you think you're doing? You told my dad to leave, right? Explain yourself.
Oh, morning Caroline. Yes, you need to leave because I bought that house.
What? My dad said you just renovated your family home, so he could easily take it over.
So he said that, huh? Thanks for letting me know.
Caroline. Don't butt in. Tell me, Nancy, how on earth were you making such large payments? Oh, I meant to tell you. I'm an investor, you know. I've been trading stocks for a few years now. I have some friends who tried that, but they never made any money. There's no way someone like you could've. Well, I actually did. My dad's also an investor, a successful one. He lives overseas now.
That explains why we had our wedding meeting via video call.
You got it. There's a pandemic over there right now, so he can't come back to the States.
So, Nancy, were you living off your parents' money? Only at the beginning. Borrowed some but paid it right back. Wanna know my total assets?
Don't beat around the bush. I bet it's something like $100,000?
Nope, you're off by a few zeros.
Don't tell me it's $1 million.
Close, it's $9 million.
What?
You missed out on a big catch. Too much for you to handle, I guess. Hold on, you're lying.
Lies. There's no way you're making that kind of money.
If you think I'm lying, that's fine. We won't be seeing each other again.
Wait, Nancy. Let's get back together. Please, come back.
Well then, bye-bye. Saying that, I hung up, blocked his number, and also blocked his messages. Feeling liberated, I started looking for a new place to live. A few days later, a call came from an unknown number. When I answered, it was Robert using the company's cell phone. I didn't know the company's phone number.
Nancy. Please, don't hang up. Listen to me.
What is it? A demolition crew is here. They're telling me to leave my house. Can you help? Where are you right now? We could come over. That ain't happening. Goodbye.
Wait. Mom. It's me, Caroline. I'm sorry for what I said. Please, can we live together again?
Caroline, I'm not your mother anymore. Don't come crawling back now.
It was my fault. Marry Dad again. I won't be able to go to college and my cell phone's gonna get cut off soon. Please, I promise to be good.
Poor thing. But remember, Caroline, it was you who refused when I tried to become your mother. Life's not always a cakewalk, you know? Maybe you should give up on college for now and get a job. Or take out a student loan.
A student loan? No way. My college life as a girl. I just can't.
Throwing a tantrum now won't help. Robert and you need to figure it out. Take care and goodbye. I blocked that number and headed straight to the phone store to change my number. About 3 months passed. I heard from a gym buddy, who was also close to Robert, that he no longer had any time or money for hobbies. He's working day and night to pay back the money he borrowed from his parents. I thought I saw Caroline downtown when I was out with friends, but they're no longer my concern. They got what they deserved.
When I told my parents about everything, they suggested I live with them. I'm planning to leave states soon, so I probably won't have to deal with those people anymore.
I'm looking forward to new beginnings over there.